Hi Libra, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your March 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12 card spread with each card representing a different house of the zodiac. Starting with your sign, Libra, as the first house, all the way through to Virgo, represented by the 12th house. And once we get through the main spread, we'll actually pull an oracle card for some additional insight. As far as the decks being used this month, for the main tarot deck, we have the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, and for the Oracle card, we'll be using the Wisdom Oracle. But we're actually going to start the reading off our roll notes astrology dice we have in front of us to get an idea of where your folks should be as far as that goes. Alright, we have Pluto, and Pluto is in Aquarius, which for you guys, that's your 5th house of romance, creativity, and children. So yeah, that could bring up themes of control, very powerful energy overall, but we'll keep that in mind. All right, we have Taurus. So for you guys, Taurus is actually your 8th house of death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments. Astrologically speaking, we've had Uranus there for quite some time, and at the very end of the month, we'll have Venus moving in there as well, and Venus is your ruler. So we'll keep those things in mind as well. And yeah, we have 5th house popping up here too. So we just talked about 5th house energy since Pluto came up there as well. So yeah, definitely looks like 5th house energies could be a bit powerful for you guys this month. So we'll keep that in mind as we go through the main spread. Okay, so representing the 1st house, which in general points to personality, self-awareness, and appearance, we have the 7 of chalices. So this is Scorpio energy here. And for you guys, that's your natural 2nd house. But whether this is going to directly tie into finances or not, I feel like this is saying that you might find yourselves a little bit scattered, energetically speaking, this month. Possibly not necessarily seeing situations clearly. And this does bring to my mind the fact that Mercury retrograde pretty much just started today, so could certainly be tied to that to an extent. But yeah, seeing this here, I feel like this is just saying that this might have too much going on mentally, right? Not necessarily knowing quite what you're seeing. If we look at the name of the card in this deck, it's the Corruptor, right? So viewing it through that lens, it could just be saying that maybe you might even be letting your thoughts sabotage you to an extent this month. So definitely be on the lookout for that. All right, for the 2nd house, pointing to possession, self-worth, and finances, we have the 5 of scepters. So this is the 5 of wands in traditional tarot, it's a Leo energy. So yeah, so when it comes to finances, could just be saying that maybe you're in a very competitive environment, right? So a super generic example might be someone who is in commission sales or something, right? Or maybe you're just in a field where there's so many people in that same field, so there's so many options for people to choose from, right? So think about the internet these days, right? People could just put anything on sale on the internet and have customers all around the world, right? Almost instantly. So could just be saying that you might find that financially speaking, you might find that things are a little bit tougher to come by this month. All right. In the 3rd house, which points to communication, short journeys, and siblings, we have the Necromancer. So this is the equivalent of the moon in traditional tarot. And seeing this here in your communication house, again, can't help but point out the fact that, like we said, the Mercury retrograde just started. And, even though the moon's really the ruler of Cancer, we often see the moon energy attributed to Pisces. We even see the Pisces symbolism here, and that's even more fitting, right? So yeah, communications definitely, when it comes to finances, I would say in particular from what we've seen so far, maybe you want to take what you hear with a grain of salt as far as that goes, right? And try to refrain from making any big time decisions if you can, or if, at the very least, if you do, just really make sure that you know what you're signing up for. All right, so in the 4th house, which points to home roots and family, we have the Ace of Orbs. So it's referred to as the deepening in this deck. So really this is the equivalent of the Ace of Pentacles. So yeah, it could just be saying that maybe as you do withdraw, right, within your home environment, that's where ideas might flow to you at their best this month. So maybe the less noise you have around you, the better, right? Given the Seven of Chalices energy, we talked about the contender, right? Could just be saying that as you withdraw and just get to be alone with your own thoughts, you might start to really nail down things in a more positive manner. For some of you, this could be as simple as also saying maybe you're thinking about potentially renovating your home environment as well. And for a smaller percentage of you, possibly even moving altogether. All right, so like we said, the fifth house energy seemed to be significant for you guys this month. And as for the card representing that, we have the Ebony Shield. So in this deck, this is the equivalent of the Queen of Pentacles, and that's naturally actually a Capricorn energy. So again, we get that connection then, right? Capricorn for you guys is your fourth house, so you're just talking about the fourth house energy. So yeah, so I feel like this is just saying that creativity might flow through you when you're just within your home environments, and possibly even through that creativity, you might find ways to turn it into something tangible, right? So given that that Capricorn energy is anchoring it in this regard, could just be saying that, you might have one of those creative ideas and then come to a realization that, okay, yeah, I could actually put this idea out in the world and actually benefit from it in a concrete way. And when this comes to romance as well, it could just be saying that you might actually find a solid connection there, because that's another energy fifth house could represent. But it could just be one of those things that you might take slowly, but at the same time build a strong foundation with it. Okay, so for the sixth house, pointing to health, work, and daily routines, we have the Two of Chalices. So this is basically the equivalent of the Two of Cups, which is Cancerian energy. So yeah, it could just be saying that within your work environment, possibly just even in your daily routines, you might actually cross paths with someone and feel like you have a strong meeting of the minds. So of course, Two of Cups is often attributed to more of a romantic type of connection, but this could just be a meeting of the minds in general. So yes, that can be a great thing and can also certainly apply to romantic connections, but it could also exist outside of those connections as well, right? So either way, I feel like this is definitely a good thing to see because it can impact your daily life in a positive way. All right, so for your seventh house, which more directly points to partnerships, contracts, and relationships, we have the Five of Chalices. So Scorpio energy here, and yeah, for some of you, this could just be processing a past disappointment. So for some of you, that disappointment might have been around finances, right? For others of you, like we said, maybe it would have been around romantic connections. But in any event, I feel like this is saying if we combine that with the Two of Cups there, right? So, I mean, especially if you look at the way they're looking at each other in this deck, right? We see the three spilled cups there, the two cups behind this person, but they're also looking right at those Two of Cups, right? So it could just be saying that this is one of those things where you're finally fully ready to let a past disappointment go and embrace the new this month. Okay, so for your eighth house, which points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Ace of Chalices, the Purifying. So yeah, so this is definitely another good cup energy to see here too. And again, I feel like there's this tie to creativity for you guys this month. So interestingly enough, right, we see the Seven of Chalices here, and we were saying, you might be feeling a little bit too scattered. But I feel like now that we're getting more context with this reading, I feel like this is saying the less voices you're dealing with this month, the better, right? So if you have 10 different people giving you advice on something, right, then it's going to possibly muddy the waters for you in that regard. Whereas, yeah, maybe you just have one close person you're confiding in this month. Maybe that'd be a better way to go, right? Or even just within your own space without anyone providing external input. That might be where the ideas really flow for you guys this month. And again, like I said, I feel like these ideas can actually benefit you in tangible ways, even if a little bit further down the line. But at the very least, you could plant some firm, strong seeds this month. All right, so for the ninth house, pointing to philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have Last Judgment. So this is an energy that does tend to pop up from time to time when we do have retrogrades, and Again, like I said, we pretty much have one that just started. Not to mention, we're still in eclipse season, really. There's going to be a full moon eclipse coming up in your 12th house on the 3rd of March. So that could be a bit of an intense energy there. But yeah, seeing this here, I feel like this is saying that you might be revisiting something, right? That maybe you might have thought was fully behind you, but it might be coming back up to the surface. So for some of you, that could be, like we said, maybe processing a past disappointment, right? And now viewing it through a different lens and finally being able to heal from that and put it behind you. That's certainly positive there. For some of you, this could be around the creative ideas that I was saying that you might have, maybe reconnecting with a philosophy that you might have had at one point and you might have moved away from over time for whatever reason. All right, so for the 10th house of career and social status, we have the Four of Orbs. So more Capricorn energy here. So yeah, I feel like this is saying that because you might have these ideas flowing through you, right? You might be a little bit more reserved in general when it comes to how you approach this area of life, right? So a super generic way it could be playing out, right? Let's just say you have a more traditional job, but now you're having these creative ideas flow to you that you might find that, hey, I could actually potentially benefit from this idea monetarily as well, right? So you might say, but I still need to pay bills in the meantime, right? So you might just be figuring out a way, like, okay, how can I actually conserve my resources a little bit so I have that nest egg just in case, right? So I could give myself that little bit of a window to make that transition. So that could be what some of you guys are figuring out at this time. All right, so for the 11th house, which in general points to friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have the Ivory Shield. So this is actually the equivalent of the Queen of Cups, which is Cancerian energy. So yeah, so this could also just be saying that, maybe you feel a little bit more emotionally connected to the groups that you deal with. So, or possibly you're at the very least seeking that, right? But I feel like for the majority of you, it's more the first. Now, I'm seeing that in a more positive sense, but right. But keep in mind, we just talked about the Mercury retrograde, the eclipse energy, right? So for some of you, maybe it might be emotions flowing in a way that you weren't expecting, right? So just something to think about there. But yeah, seeing this here, I feel like this is just saying that connecting with those around you, and then I feel like that's going to fuel you as well. So again, like we said, I feel like when it comes to getting input from others, you might want to limit that if you start to feel a little bit overwhelmed with that Seven of Chalices energy. But I feel like this is also saying that, you know, if you do hit that reset button, right, if you need to withdraw for a little bit and just be alone with your own thoughts, when you come back out, you might feel rejuvenated and unable to embrace that energy a little bit better. All right, so for the 12th house, which points to spirituality, blind spots, mental health, we have the 10 of Swords. So certainly an ominous energy to see, right, as far as the artwork, and pretty much every deck, the Ten of Swords artwork tends to be a little dramatic, but given that this is a 12th house energy, on the one hand, I would say it might not be the most ideal, comfortable way for this energy to come out, but I feel like this is saying, especially given that we were just talking about how you will have a full moon eclipse in your 12th house, that could really be pointing to an ending here. So if you have maybe been replaying something over and over again in your minds, right? Maybe beating yourselves up over something from your past. I feel like this is saying that you could finally have that release. So the good part of that is the fact that it would be a release, right? The tricky part might be getting through that energy in of itself, right? So definitely be a little bit kind with yourselves around the time of that full moon eclipse, which like I said, that's going to be the 3rd of March. So give yourselves maybe the first week of March, right? That know that some things might come up to the surface for you guys, but in the long run, it'll be beneficial as far as it'll be a release. But again, if you feel those heavy energies around that time, just know that it's transitory. Try to let it pass, right? Knowing that things can improve from there. All right. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Force. So, given what we were just talking about, this is a good energy to see here. This is the equivalent of the Strength card in traditional tarot, and this is a Leo energy. So, to me, this says that, yeah, this is a good thing to see because it does say that, yeah, even if you do have these heavy thoughts that come back up to the surface of you guys this month, looks like you could ride that wave and come out stronger for it. And beneath that, we see basically the equivalent of the Magician as well. So, yeah. So again, like I said, might not feel the most comfortable when you feel that energy come up to the surface, but I feel like this is saying just ride that wave, and you'll feel a little bit more positive on the other side of it. But we'll see what the Oracle card adds to the mix. So, like I mentioned, we're going to pull a card from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. I'm just going to give this a few shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. Okay. We'll take this card. Let me get this out of the way as I make a mess, and then we'll see what card you guys got. So you have 2 to see. There's the artwork, and the number is 7. So we'll see what this has to say. All right, essential meanings says being in flow, returning to source, recognizing how pieces fit together, a natural pattern of events. The Oracle's message: isn't it wonderful when you feel yourself in the flow of life, when events and conditions seem to engage you in a way that is fluid and effortless? This card reminds you that going with the flow is exactly what you need to do right now. Ride the wave of opportunity formed by perfect conditions. Allow trust and faith to guide you forward as you flow like a river into the sea of life. So yeah, definitely an interesting message there, especially given these cups energies I was seeing, which like I said, it seems like maybe processing a past disappointment and moving toward something better for the future. The relationship message says there are points in a relationship when you have to decide to go with the flow rather than dictate the course you share with another. Can you let go of the need to have things your way and allow the relationship itself, your combined goals and desires, to steer the ship? Can you both transcend your personalities and allow the partnership to form its own identity, its own energy? Now is the time to relax and see where this mutual journey leads. So that was an interesting message to read there, right? Because maybe for some of you, this is processing a past disappointment, but not completely abandoning the connection, right? But just saying, okay, yes, this was something we went through. It was less than ideal, right? Okay, can we pick up from here, right? And maybe that would be the case if you feel like that connection is still there and still strong, right? Maybe if it could be strengthened through releasing that. But for others, right, maybe it'll be moving to something new. But either way, hopefully that message resonated with you. And the prosperity message says everything seems to work out when you stop scrambling and allow the sea of opportunities to wash over you and wake you up to your most prosperous potential. To get into that flow, you need to address your beliefs about abundance and money. The true meaning of your personal currency lies in your skills, your talents, and abilities, and most important, your core beliefs. Everything flows from your inner world and is reflected in the outer one. When, grateful to serve, you align your prosperity consciousness with a higher consciousness, you can expect miracles. Everything you need will come to you easily. So yeah, that's another pretty strong message there. And when it comes to finances, like I said, it looks like you might have this creative flow, especially if you do just withdraw and just sit alone with your own thoughts for a while. And it seems like I said, you might almost immediately realize that this idea that comes to you, like, oh, there's actually a way that this could play out and benefit me in a tangible way. So definitely be on the lookout for that kind of energy as well. But yeah, hopefully that resonated with you guys, and we'll wrap up there. All right, bye.